Okay, and this for y'all too, all you emotional fans. Okay, one, Melo don't play no D. How many people play D in the NBA today? If you know anything about sports, if you watch basketball, how many people actually play defense? How many Patrick Beverleys in the league? How many Kawhis in the league? Okay? How many Goberts in the league? How many shot blockers in the league? Very few. So all your stars that you talking about that you whose shoes you buy, a lot of them don't play defense either. If you want to talk about Melo. Second, how is he cancerous? He was loyal to the Knicks forever, didn't leave. Like, y'all making up a lot of excuses from being emotional fans. I don't want to hear none of that. He better than a lot of players in the league. Okay? A lot of players. A lot of players that's getting new contracts right now, Melo's still better than. So get out your feelings, man, and stop being an emotional fan. That man deserves all the respect that anybody else is getting. Point blank. Stop making excuses and get out your feelings. Facts. See, hey, this one part of the game, as fans, they try to keep y'all away from because they want to continue to have y'all spend y'all money and support the game, which is cool. But at the same time, they always talk about when players go and play and team up with players, but they don't talk about this type of shit on how they treat players and just kick them out the league and just blackball them when they want to. You see what I'm saying? It ain't about no damn farewell tour with Melo. It's about respect. Respect that Melo deserves. Melo has the same stats as Paul Pierce. Melo have better stats than a lot of Hall of Famers. Give that man the respect he deserves. It ain't got shit to do with no farewell tour. The man belong in the league. He's paid his dues. He's one of the best players, one of the best scorers the game has ever seen. It's all about respect. And y'all wonder why players doing what they want to do? Because the game don't respect them and they blackball us when they want to.
We're going to have a rematch soon. Time for our final topic of the day. Carmelo Anthony still hasn't gotten a chance since Houston released him early last season, but Melo's trainer said he still wants one more shot before calling it quits. The trainer said Melo just wants one final season and a farewell tour like Dwayne Wade had, and he's holding out hope that this will still happen. Shannon, will any team give him a shot?
It's just hard to see for me. It didn't work well in OKC. Houston was really a disaster because Melo was unwilling to adjust his style of play and realize that at his age, he was a role player. He still thought he was going to be the de facto guy. And I hate to see him because it seems like his trainer is begging. LeBron is an outlier. You know, D. Wade, everybody from that draft, with the exception of Kyle Korver and LeBron James, has retired. Kyle Korver has been a role player for an extended period of time.
True.
And Bron is an outlier, Skip. I hope, but I don't. I wouldn't bet any money that he signs with someone this year.
I like Carmelo, but I'm sorry to inform him this ship has sailed. He got his last shot in Oklahoma City with Russ and Paul George. Didn't work. And then he got another last shot with James Harden and CP3 in Houston, and it lasted about a second, right?
Yeah, why does guys wait till the very last minute?
Carmelo is like a reserve sideshow to sell a few tickets.
No.
Isn't that beneath Carmelo's dignity?
Yes.
Come on. That's not what I want to see.
12-time All-Star.
Yeah.
You won gold medals.
Yeah.
Bro, you've had a...
Look, I will agree with this. I think Melo is better than 60, 70% of the players in the NBA. There's no question he's good enough to play in the NBA. The question and the problem is, where does he fit? A young team that is going nowhere wants to develop its young players and see who's a keeper. see who they can build around. They don't want to give 15 shots, 30 minutes to Carmelo Anthony. They need to see what their young guys can do. A challenger, a contender, how do they fit Carmelo Anthony into their system? It's easier to fit a role player in than a ball-dominant former star who, is going to want to play a certain way and get a certain amount of minutes and shots. So I can only look at a handful of teams that he might fit. And I don't have evidence that any of them want him. I don't think he's getting back in the league. But a Miami, a Detroit, a Washington, a Charlotte, teams that aren't at the bottom and aren't full of young players, but certainly aren't contending. They're kind of sputtering. They're not going anywhere.
It's amazing.
But I think a Carmelo Anthony maybe could go there. But it's just, I said a year ago on this show, The Herd, that Carmelo Anthony should retire. Because I hate to see a guy that I consider a first ballot Hall of Famer begging like this. Now, I think he said some great stuff and represented himself well on the show. But ultimately, there's a part of this that just bothered me because it felt like he's desperate and he's begging people to put him back in the league. It feels beneath a player that great.
Oh, I don't have any problem with him begging to get back in the league, but he didn't. He didn't say he's willing to do the little things it takes. He's willing to practice. He's willing to play defense. He's willing to understand that his role and to help.
He said other things.
He did.
You're right. He didn't mention defense and things like that.
He can't play in the NBA because you can hide one guy, but you can't hide a role player, and he's a mid-range shooter. He doesn't fit in today's NBA, and like you said, he may statistically be better because he scores more points, but what does he do to the chemistry of the team? Does he truly accept the role? And how much does he hurt you on defense? Look, LeBron James is one of his closest friends. He's had multiple opportunities in Cleveland and in L.A. last year and in L.A. this year to say, hey, sign him for a minimum deal. And he hasn't wanted to. If your best friend doesn't want you to fit any sort of role, why should the rest of the league? That's I think, the take. You got 15 seconds.
No, it reminds me of Allen Iverson. I mean, now it's getting beyond what Iverson went through, but they couldn't accept not being a star and a superstar. Iverson could have, to me, become a Lou Williams, a Jamal Crawford off the bench, but he couldn't accept that role.
Hey, everybody. Welcome into our NBA TV studios. I'm Kristen Ledlow, alongside our Sekou Smith. And despite it being a Friday in August, we had a lot of NBA news today.
Every Friday.
Let's get right to it. This morning, Carmelo Anthony sat down with Stephen A. Smith on ESPN's First Take. We're going to get to that in a minute. But first, let's take a look at some of what Carmelo has accomplished. He's played 16 seasons in the NBA. He's been selected as an All-Star 10 different times. He's also got 3 Olympic gold medals. So let's take a listen to what he had to say on Friday morning.
For me now, it was just a matter of me letting everybody know where I'm at, right? Physically, mentally, emotionally. This is where I'm at. I want to play basketball. I still love the game of basketball. I don't play this game for a farewell tour. I'm ready to get back on the team.
And what will we see? Allow me to fantasize. What will we see real quick? Because we only got about a minute left. If you were on the Lakers, if you were on the Clippers, if you were with Dame on Portland, right. I don't know if you'd go there, but right. If you were on a basketball team, one of these championship contenders, what will we see from Carmelo Anthony?
Leadership in the locker room, on the court, on the bench, places that I've never had issues with before. Right? This is what I bring to a team. On top of me being confident enough in my game to still be able to deliver something on the court.
You had the opportunity to watch the interview in its entirety. Did Melo help himself gain a position in the NBA with this interview?
It's interesting, Kristen. I don't know if he helped himself gain a position, but he certainly cleared the slate. He set the record straight, let everybody know from his own mouth what's going on instead of people talking about him, rumors flying about what his intentions might be or what he wants to do in terms of finishing his career. I don't know that this puts him in any better position, though, to get on a roster because the limitations that you see for a guy like Carmelo, a guy who's done as much as he has in the league, and him having to take a much less significant role than he's ever played before are still there. So it's going to be tough for a lot of teams with younger players or guys they're trying to develop to put a guy like Melo on your team and then watch him sit on the bench.
What role then would he play at this point in his career? What can he bring to a team?
Listen, I think there's no question that Carmelo Anthony could be an asset to a team, but it has to be a specific group. It's got to be a championship caliber team that looks up late in the season and needs what he brings. An elite scorer, even at this stage of his career, a guy who you know can come off the bench and get buckets. And then it's going to take Carmelo, like he said in this interview, embracing the opportunity to be that scorer off the bench for a team that really needs his skill set.
Well, then you said it would be a championship contender who would look up late in the season and need what he brings. Do you think that he will be on a roster to start this NBA season?
I don't know that that's going to happen, and I don't know that it should. I think when you're in the position that Melo's in now at this stage of his career, maybe it's best that you look around the league and have an opportunity to search out that ideal fit as opposed to just getting it hasn't ended well. So if you're Carmelo, you want to take as much time as needed. And he's going to be prepared. You see it. We've seen the footage. He's in the gym all the time. So it's not like he's working and preparing himself. But maybe it's best that you get an opportunity to survey what's going on in the league and make that ideal choice late in the year to get on a roster and chase a championship.
For the first time in maybe 5-6 years, there are multiple contenders for a championship. Where do you think he'd be the best fit?
Honestly, I think there's so many different options when you look around. But I look at the team in Portland, and I watched them in the postseason last year. If you're going to add a player that does what Carmelo does, you put him on the floor with Dame Lillard and C.J. McCollum. That is a very difficult decision for you defensively, who to focus on late in the game if you've got those two elite guards and then a 6'8" scorer of Carmelo's caliber out there with them. To me, that would pose some serious problems for opposing teams, and Melo would be a great fit there. And the fans in Portland would embrace him in ways that he wasn't in his last two stops.
Well, in other NBA news, here's a David Griffin quote from an upcoming Sports Illustrated article. On his time with LeBron and the Cavs, quote, "Everything we did was so inorganic and unsustainable and frankly, not fun. I was miserable. Literally, the moment we won the championship, I knew I was going to leave. There was no way I was going to stay for any amount of money." Then LeBron posted this to Twitter. Of course, there's no way of knowing what he's referring to, but at King James says, all right, enough is enough. The throne has been played with too much, and I ain't for horseplay. Ether coming soon. Hashtag James Gang. So Friday, Griff went on ESPN's The Jump to clarify his comments. He did work in media right here next to us on NBA TV, but a difficult position for anyone to be placed in when the expectation is to deliver a championship for one of the greatest players of all time.
Yeah, and I think, of course, I've heard Griff talk about that many times the past couple of years around here, obviously. But he's right. When you build something overnight the way they did with LeBron coming back, and then it's all or nothing every season without an opportunity to build organically the way he's going to have, that chance in New Orleans, it is tough. I can imagine it is tough. And Griff talked about the challenges of being in that high wire, of trying to win every night. And it's all LeBron when it's good, and it's everybody else when it's bad. So I don't think there was anything out of line that he said. But if LeBron needed any more motivation in a summer full of it, this will probably serve its purpose.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing it. After the break, we're going to get you guys ready for Saturday.